right, everybody, we got week 3 feature match footage from the LBR. It's going to be none other than Yangzera and Deriva. Deriva from Team Hydra and Yang on WNX. WNX actually kind of fighting for their spot in the LBR, which would get relegated if you do get last place, and 7th place does need to fight for the spot in some relegation games after everything is said and done for the season. So definitely a big game for WNX. Hydra in a similar spot as they are fighting in that 5th, 6th, and 7th territory to see who is going to have to, fight off those relegation games for 7th place. 8th place pretty much already buttoned up right now. So let's go ahead, get started with game number 1, Yangzera versus Deriva. Alright, so getting things started with a Mountain Goat. Getting that solid 3 to the face as well, which always feels good because you do get that free gem generation. And as we catch up here, you'll be able to see that. And so we actually have Egghead Researcher on the side of Deriva. This is not a card that we're... I feel like when this deck first kind of came about, Egghead Researcher was pretty popular. Now it doesn't seem like we're seeing it as much.
No, and I think it's sort of there as a replacement for Mountain Scryer. Like, you still want to have this value card that you can get down and get another card that's going to scale you into the late game so that you have a little bit of agency against Invoke decks specifically. Maybe you can even high roll and hit an Eclipse Dragon. But, yeah, for the most part, we're not really seeing the dragon-heavy version of this deck. I don't really like the Researcher myself. I think that when you don't have Plaza, you are just on a lot of really, really small units, and it can really worsen your Shen Fiora matchup, which is something that we are still seeing players bring. I know we talked yesterday about how there's always one Anivia in, every day of the LBR, and I did actually confirm that there's another one here today. There's always at least one Anivia. It's almost never the same player twice, but there's always going to be like 3 or 4 Shen Fiora as well.
Oh, man. And here I was, we were spoiled, Boulevard. We were spoiled last game. We didn't have any invokes, or last match, I should say. Now here I am, having to worry about invokes again, what people are deciding to take, not take. Man, if only we had a world without invokes. Will we ever see that again, Boulevard? I don't think so.
I don't know how they're going to handle rotation.
Hey, that's a good point. Maybe at some point we do have a set rotation. So I like the outside of the box
regional
thinking,
rotation.
I like it.
They're only they're going to have 12 regions, but only 10 of them are legal at a time. This year, no more Demacia, no more Targon. Next year, PNZ, you're out of here. Ionia, get away.
That would be wild. That would be pretty.
That would be pretty bad. I think.
It would definitely be different. I don't think there's ever been a game that's tried something like that. So, but leave it to Riot to do something that's never been done before.
There are some things that have never been done for a reason. Some things you can just look at and go, "Huh, that's a bad idea."
Oh yeah. All right. And looks like Draven hitting the field, man. I know there was actually a lot of talk about Draven a little while ago as well, with maybe receiving some sort of change. But I honestly, he seems just so balanced to me. I think he's fine.
Yeah, Draven is strong, but Draven is nowhere near overpowered.
I'm going to agree. I love him. I love everything about him. His design, his balance, his power, his effect.
There are some... So I do think that there are some times where you do want to hit cards that are strong and not necessarily overpowered, but that's because of a sort of anti-fun play style that they promote. For example, Grand Plaza. You could argue that it's strong but not overpowered, but it is a very anti-fun play style where you can't really develop a board. Your opponent gets to just constantly pick things off. There's nothing unfun about Draven. He just has quick attack.
Actually, yeah, no, I like the way that you put that, to be honest with you. Yeah, Grand Plaza, very unfun, if Riot is listening.
I don't think I've ever actually seen someone kill a Grand Plaza with Scorched Earth without the player having a second copy in hand.
Kill a Grand Plaza. Oh. I mean, that's a very random assertion there.
It's just something I've observed over a couple of weeks of casting at this point.
Yeah, Scorched Earth just continues to be the card of choice here for the Draven Ezreal, or Draven Swain for that matter, as opposed to Noxian Guillotine, which was so popular for so long, just falling off a cliff. Everybody's very much on the Scorched Earth bandwagon, and why not? When you have this many Scorched Earths, and even the factory now, or sorry, foundry, I should say, floating around all over the place. Yeah, we need that landmark removal. God, rip Tom Rocca though, man. Jesus.
Ooh. It's going to be interesting. What I can't wait to speculate about once we actually, because obviously, like, we have no idea what Shurima's core strategies are going to be and how the region is going to play out. But I would imagine that Shurima's going to come out with a landmark.
Yeah, I mean, if every region has a landmark, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as we start to see Shurima spoilers, because I don't think they're going to do the landmark first. They might not even release it in the first set of Shurima. They might wait for one of the expansions later on. But, as we start to get an idea of what Shurima is going to look like as a region, I'm really curious to speculate about the landmark.
Ooh, that's a really interesting concept too. Yeah, there's the landmark. There's a lot, man, and it's. I'm so curious how they work Rammus into that. Like, how do they make him zip around the board somehow? Like, I want to see it.
I'm just so excited for more Legends of Runeterra cards to come out of SJW.
Yup. Starts with a Aphelios, man. What are we, like, T-minus 1 week now or so for Aphelios?
About that, yeah, like 8 days.
So very, very excited for that. But in the meantime, we got quite the wide board. Which is very, very typical for any sort of Targon deck nowadays. It's usually the strategy. You try to grab all these Celestial units, some of the smaller units that you have in your deck that generate the Celestial units, buff them up with things like Grand Plaza or even Cosmic Inspiration for that matter, which we constantly see win games. And then you go wide. You try to make some positive trades with your opponent, pick things off. Now, Yang, I got to say, has some responses. We have Death's Hand. If we do pull something like this Arachnoid Sentry with the 5/4, okay, it looks like we're not going to. We're just going to push that damage. So Death's Hand would be able to take out this Zoe instead, which seems like a pretty good deal right now. We got to get this Zoe off the board.
Yeah, I figured that's what Yang was going to go for. The other option was play the Arachnoid Sentry, stun one of the sisters, and flock it, but not committing that to the board, holding up the 3-mana does really say, hey, I'm going to kill this Zoe. And uncharacteristically, we are seeing the Draven deck really keep up on a lot more cards than the Demacia Targon.
Yeah, actually, I got to agree with you. Most of the time, we start falling behind. But, I mean, well, what do we have 3 Spinning Axes in there. So, I mean, that's kind of, those aren't really cards at the end of the day. But they could be.
They will be eventually.
They could get traded in for cards. So, if we do get Rummage online, that's going to feel real good for Yang. Warrior, Written in the Stars, and Meteor Shower. We don't have the attack token. Warrior, generally always, I don't want to say always, but doesn't usually seem like a great option no matter when it's picked up. In this case, Written in the Stars seems okay. You grab an Aurelion Soul or a Zoe, +2/+2, which honestly doesn't seem bad with the current hand that you have. That might actually be the best option here because Meteor Shower does not get a whole lot done.
I do like the idea of Written in Stars. If we can get an Aurelion Soul down on turn 9, when our opponent, our opponent establishes the Leviathan, we go for a Soul. It doesn't feel like a game-winning line, though.
Wow, okay, so actually go with the Meteor instead. So we'll see how this gets utilized. We could pick off, the Sump Dredger and now this 1/1 House Spider. Then we're tapped out, though.
I think that we picked it up in order to push some damage onto the Swain next turn. If it levels, we can still finish it off because our priority number 1 here for Deriva is to make sure that Yang does not set up a Swain Leviathan lock this turn. And, Swain is only at 3 out of 12, but we do have 2 mana available for the 2 Ravenous Flocks that could just level the Swain on the spot. Yeah, we can only get 4 off onto the Golden Sisters, but since we don't have a way to deal with it this turn, we do have that small window to push through a Challenger on this turn, damage the Swain, and, use that Meteor Shower to stop the lock from happening. We do have a lot of time that's going to be bought by that Swain not being close to being leveled just yet, but not a lot.
Yeah, it's so crucial to make sure that Leviathan and Swain never get down on the board together. They completely just own the game for the person playing the Swain deck, and I think you're right. I think that is what this Meteor Shower is for. We also have Hushes as well. On backup, I guess.
There's some play around for Deriva.
So there's definitely some options. Mind Splitter, it's funny. Mind Splitter in this matchup, like the big targets you're going to want to stun are Swain and Leviathan, but stunning them doesn't really do much. It doesn't feel like the greatest of choices, but it's not terrible. If you are able to stun something like even a Sump Dredger and a Swain, and then you just have to worry about the Leviathan. The Swain won't do anything as long as it just sits on the field unleveled. But then once it's leveled, you will still eventually have to deal with it. So just I don't know how we're really going to get this Mind Splitter down on a good turn without losing too much tempo.
It starts with being able to kill the Swain, and you did already stop the Leviathan coming down. Yang actually throwing out the Ballistic Bot instead. And one play around that you typically have for the Swain Leviathan combo, you throw down like your Great Beyond on your attack turn. Your units have already been stunned for the turn. You go, oh, this is great. I have a spell shield. I'm immune to Arachnoid Sentry. And then you remember that if Yang wants to, you can just throw a Mystic Shot at your face and stun out that Great Beyond. Now, Deriva does have the hushes, so this is something that's going to constantly be online. You can just hush that Swain, throw down your big unit, go in for a giant elusive attack, and there isn't too much that Yang's going to be able to do to stop that.
So I gotta say, though, we're talking about all these instances of Swain Leviathan. There's obviously that's the big combo you got to worry about on the side of Yang, and all these other play arounds and stuff like that. But real quietly, Deriva has Yang at 5, and
it's rough.
And Yang has no heal. Again, PNZ and Noxus, no heal.
Nope. These are the two regions, 0 heal.
Like any kind of, we have plenty of elusives generally on the side of Deriva. We even have this Silver Sister, which as of now, we have to Arachnoid Sentry and Flock. If we don't do that, we're just going to die to it on an open attack on the next attack token of Deriva. So we're almost required on the side of Yang to get rid of that this turn.
Well, we still got 1 HP up on it. It is only going to push 4. We can, 1's not 0, as we talk about a lot, but there are a lot of ways for Deriva to just sneak through that one last damage, be it a Zoe, another Silver Sister, a little bit of Overwhelm from a Destroyer. You definitely want to stay higher than 1. Ooh, and here we get the Rummage to cash in for some real cards like we had mentioned earlier.
Hey, what is this Swain? So the newly developed Swain is at 7 out of 10. So we're almost there. We're getting there.
And I really like the open attack out of Yangzera, saying, you know what? If you want to block my Swain, you have to lose the Silver Sister. And that's how I'm going to play this one. It is a little bit dicey because Pale Cascade would look pretty bad for Yang here. But there are no Pale Cascades in this list.
I was just going to say we could hush this Swain and block it. And I think that Deriva honestly might be trying to just go all in on this strategy of I'm going to deal the last 5 damage next turn. Which currently Yang can't do anything about. Well, he can't do anything about the 4 damage, I should say. Now, there's currently no way of dealing the additional 1 damage. There's a decent probability we might be able to draw into something like a Pale Cascade, but I don't know. I mean, that just now I'm kind of questioning. Although Deriva is very close to winning the game, I'm kind of questioning that hush onto the Swain because what are you really saving by doing that other than the opportunity to go ahead and go in with the Silver Sister?
You are stopping Yangzera from leveling the Swain this turn.
Yeah, the Nexus Strike, would have leveled up the Swain, but
No, I mean, so we cannot flock our own Swain in order to have the Leviathan level Swain next turn and stun this Silver Sister and Mind Splitter.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
You can no longer gain level progression this turn, I don't think.
Okay.
I'm not 100% on that because he doesn't have to be on field to do it. He might be one of the champions that can actually see it anyway.
Okay.
In which case, it would have been correct for Yang to actually, I believe, flock his own Swain in order to stun the Mind Splitter and the Silver Sister. And then this Ignition would actually be able to stun the...
I mean, we're still in a pretty good... I think Yang's in a pretty good spot now, though. Because we do have 2 Arachnoid Sentry, which are just going to completely demolish this attack turn out of Deriva. Yang, though, I got to say, you made the comment that 1 isn't 0. And... I think Yang very much playing to that strategy right now because that Arachnoid Sentry onto the 6/5, clearly still does not care about this elusive unit. Like, we know that we can't deal with this elusive unit. There's still nothing in hand. We could have technically stunned it and then Ravenous Flocked it to get rid of it, but, that play from Yang shows me that he just absolutely is convinced Deriva does not have something like Pale Cascade. Are we assuming Pale Cascade's in this deck and it's not again?
No, I told you he doesn't play
it. Okay. What? Damn it. I did it, man. God, we were just talking about this yesterday. Never mind.
It's okay.
The whole time.
Just feel your hatred. So Yang actually doesn't go for the second Arachnoid Sentry, instead just going for the Ignition Soft Pass, saying, I have enough blockers for all of the units that you have available. You're going to need to do a little bit more than that. And I think there is a decent shot that Deriva is going to say, you know what? I don't have lethal. Let me throw down Sunforger #2, forego the lifesteal, and try and just get a kill onto that Swain.
Honestly, doesn't seem like a bad choice. I mean, unfortunately, though, we see on the side of Yang gonna have another Arachnoid set. Wow, okay.
That's not what I expected
that either.
It does present another lethal attack, though. This is going to force something out of Yang.
I don't know if I really like that though, man. You could have at least overwritten the like if you're going for this, you could have overwritten the 6/5.
If you overwrite anything, you don't have lethal. I guess yeah. If you overwrite the 6/5,
yeah.
You're right. The Grand Plaza going down is definitely dicey, but I think Deriva understands that he doesn't have any impactful attacks left. His last attack is probably going to be this turn because if all your large units get stunned out, Swain actually would be able to go in for an open attack next turn. And I think that's one of the reasons we overwrote the 6. We didn't overwrite the 6/5, right? Now we have 3. Now we have 4 fearsome blockers rather.
Yeah, definitely no lack of fearsome blockers. And okay, actually gonna hush the stun. I was not even thinking about that.
He's all in, and Yangzera has an opportunity out of this. He still has the rummage, and even something as small as a Mystic Shot onto this Solari Sunforger will do it.
The priestess, you mean?
Oh, he gets the Mystic Shot.
Okay, he's alive, yeah.
All right. Still in this one is Yangzera. And I think with the blocks that he can line up and no more hushes on the side of Deriva, I think Yang actually picks this up next turn.
Yeah, because we still have Swain Leviathan on board.
Oh, no, we don't. They're both Mind Splittered. We can't attack with the Swain next turn. I forgot that wasn't just like a stun that happened. No, that is the Mind Splitter. Oh, but we can flock the Mind Splitter thanks to the Ballistic Bot. No, we can't because the theory we would have had to use the Spinning Axe. And Yang, as beautifully as he has played this turn, misses that key piece.
The back and forth that your brain just went through. Like I felt that with you.
It was okay, we've got it. No, there's Fury. And it looks like Yang just either wasn't confident in the open attack or just didn't care about the Fury. Maybe thinks that he can win even just with the lock established, even if they can't attack. But I do think that using the axe there and discarding, I mean, what is this 1 damage Tri-Beam going to do for you?
Yeah. I think we're still fine. I mean, especially if we play Tri-Beam first, that summons a unit.
I think we are very far from fine. Deriva just top decked Aurelion Soul.
Wait a second. Yeah, are both those Tri-Beams at 1? Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh, and there's Immortal Fire. Wow. Yeah, that might have been a huge mistake on Yangzera's side then if that's the case. That's going to feel real bad.
All it would have taken is to use the Spinning Axe on the 1 damage Tri-Beam. Yangzera, I thought that he had it. He had drawn the card that he needed to survive in the Mystic Shot, but unfortunately, I don't know if he forgot about the Fury or just thought that this was going to be a fine board that he had established for himself here. He can still stun everything. You can flock one of these stunned units, and then, the Swain Leviathan combo will restun the entire board, and then Deriva does need to find lethal next turn, which I think Yang can no longer stop, not with this coming down now. And I think with this Arachnoid Sentry finally coming out, unless this is lethal.
This is at 2 now. Let's see. What do we got?
Hold on.
Wait, 3, 6, 7, 8 with the picks, and then the
Yang finds the lethal with the picks and the oh my gosh.
Wait.
All right,
wait, 5, we're at 8 right now. Okay, yeah, and then the Spinning Axe. Oh my god.
And then the Leviathan as well. Yeah, Yangzera actually finds the way.
Oh yeah, and you were talking shit about those 1 mana Tri-Beams, all right? Yeah, look at you. Look at you eating your words, Boulevard.
You would have had lethal in the open if we didn't, we just discarded a Tri-Beam, but Yang does find a way regardless. That was a roller coaster, SJW.
Yeah, that's insane. We basically...
I tunneled on a play, Yang tunneled on a different play. You got to sit back and watch us crisscross as we found intersections where we were both on the same page before diverging again.
That was funny. That was just listening to you go back and forth and all he has to do is wait. No, if he does that, he can't do that. Wait, yes, he can. No, he can't. Oh, man, that was great.
I went on a spiritual journey parallel to Yangzera, but it was not the same one. But both of us finding the win, Yang doing it a little bit differently. But, mine involving caster vision, his... he got it done. That's what matters, right? He picks up that W. and keeps WNX clawing closer and closer towards potential playoffs.
I mean, yeah, WNX, I think. Did we determine if it's top 4 or top 6?
We didn't. I think it's top 4 though.
I mean, WNX, they would have to win basically everything here on out, and then hope that some of the other teams just have really bad finishes to the season that aren't named Sultans. But the problem is that means that second and third place teams need to do bad, and I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen.
Yeah, the top 3 almost seems locked at this point. There's only a 4-point difference between all of them going into some of the last legs here of the tournament.
All right, going to pull Deriva back up for yes. All right, I know I did see a wild Zoe appear. And looks like we have the Duskbringer on the side of Yangzera as well. Followed by the Mountain Goat. So actually not a bad aggressive start for Yang. Okay, Serpent actually really big here to trade with this Goat. Wow. That was a hell of a pickup by that super cool star chart. So Deriva's going to be feeling real good about that. And Zoe going to go in. And unfortunately going to be met with a hush. This is usually... it's usually safe to attack, I feel, early on with Zoe like that, even if you are playing against Targon, because it's, the least likely chance that they're actually going to have the hush, whereas later on in the game, they are almost certainly going to have it, as they're usually playing a 3 of, but unfortunately, Yang having it early on, they're going to shut down the Zoe and be met with a Grand Plaza as well. So
the whole purpose of Zoe is to gain advantage, right? If you hit your opponent, you get a +1. Getting the hush is still getting a card up on your opponent. And if you do want to go for the Zoe level, even if that's your plan, generally you need at least one super cool star chart to go off, and after that you can hang her in the back line if you are really worried about your opponent having hush. But with Yang playing the Diana version of this deck as well, I don't think you're ever really going for that Zoe win con.
No, I don't think you are either. I gotta agree with you. Are you really getting a 1 up there though? Because technically the Lunari Duskbringer grabbed the Dust Petal Dust.
Yeah, but you were the one who pointed out yesterday that that's not a card.
Now you're agreeing with me on the Dust Petal. I see.
When it suits
I was gonna
me.
say when it suits you, you agree with me. Okay, I see how this is going. No, I agree. Generally speaking, it's gonna be a 2 for the Zoe, but Cosmic Inspiration.
Really awkward handout of Yangzera at the moment.
Oh, yeah, a little awkward, but we do have Cosmic Inspiration, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah, it's going to scale really well. We can get the Cosmic Inspiration next turn. We're a ways way off of, I think, throwing down this Living Legends. Of course, you don't have to wait until turn 10 to play this card. You can play it as early as turn 7. It just does sort of change up what can and cannot get played off of it. You don't really want to be discarding a bunch of Immortal Fires and Scourges and Great Beyonds and things of that nature. But Yang going to be able to take out this Sunforger no problem. I mean... Deriva might Star Shaping it to try and get that cheeky kill onto the Diana if we go for the gem instead of the Pale.
Yeah, I like gem here. We were talking about this yesterday, I think, where the proactive Pale always feels a little bit worse. So this feels a lot better. Really maximizing the use out of that gem. I mean, I feel like that's really a good use after that Mountain Goat being taken down by the Serpent. And this means a Lunari Sunforger, sorry, Solari Sunforger going down. That's the Sun one, not the Moon one.
Yeah, give me a Lunari Moonforger.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that's not a card. Maybe it'll come out in the next set. You never know. We get single combat. Doesn't really feel like a good option here. Technically, we could heal the Sunforger with Star Shaping, but...
I think I actually like the Star Shaping play because I probably just want to Star Shaping this turn anyway.
Okay, that
I did not expect.
Really bad.
That was
speaking
weird.
of 2-for-1s, that's essentially what just happened there with the Diana. So
yeah. Well, you used the gems, so...
All right, are we gonna do this again?
I will do it as many times as I need to.
Oh man, like what even are gems or Dust Petal Dust? We'll bring this to Reddit. We'll see what everybody thinks.
Well, gems are outrageous. Truly, truly outrageous.
Oh man. And all right. The Eclipse Dragon into the turn 8 railing. So we got both players kind of setting up dreams here, so to speak. Yang getting the early Cosmic Inspiration. Deriva getting the turn 7 Eclipse Dragon into what looks like it's going to be a turn 8 Aurelian Soul, which might even level up pretty soon as well.
And we still have the 2 mana available for the Hush as well to kill the Zoe. I think that Deriva should have a pretty easy time closing this one out.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. Yeah, we're just going to jam down the Aurelian Soul. Living Legend seems okay here, especially with the ability to possibly level the Aurelian Soul. You could argue the Immortal Fire as well. It'll just a unit that sticks to the board for the level up. But yep, going to go with Living Legends. Does Diana make a difference? And I'm going to go and say that's a big no.
I'm going to agree with you on that one. And I would imagine that Deriva throws out the Hush here. Just get that free Fury proc, kill the Zoe, don't give him the star chart. Because there are some opportunities for Yang to get a really solid 3-cost or lower Celestial.
Yeah, and this means that Aurelian Soul is also buffed up. So we're at currently 21 power, only 4 more needed.
Blackjack.
Yeah, right. Yep. And these Dust Petal Dusks are just gonna be used for nothing.
Freeing up hand space for the Living Legends.
And all right, so now I guess the question is, do we hard go for the Aurelian Soul level up? I mean, what are we trying to accomplish here on this turn? We have 2 Grand Plazas down, so anything we summon is also going to do some work to remove the field of Yang. And it's funny, we played Cosmic Inspirations on the side of Yang, but the 2 Grand Plaza basically nullify that. So we're still going to be able to challenge and compete with basically anything on the board that Yang plays.
Yeah, I think Deriva can... I think that the Serpent is a pretty good soft pass and does still threaten the... Or is it one? It's 1 shy of the ASOL level, actually. But I do think you want to get down this Eclipse Dragon number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think, what are you worried about that could like actually deal with your Aurelian Soul here? It would be Hush into some sort of Celestial spell, I guess.
I think what you're really worried about is just Great Beyond Atrocity. Because at the moment, Deriva doesn't actually have a way to handle that.
And Descend the Skies, I mean, as long as the spell... So I guess maybe Hush, Descend the Skies. So I guess we always kind of have to be cognizant of removing any Celestial units that might come down. Right now, there's nothing to... Well, there's technically the Eclipse Dragon that's reducing it as well. I always forget that Dragons reduce the cost of that in addition to Celestials. I know,
How
right?
dare you?
I know, right? It's probably the more obvious one, to be honest with you.
It is a spell that is generated off of a dragon,
exactly.
so...
But yeah, so I think as long as we're cognizant of that and trying to keep that at a pretty high cost, at least 13, I think Deriva is going to be pretty safe from, at least losing the Aurelian Soul. I mean, if you lose the rest of your board but keep the Aurelian Soul, just pop the Spell Shield. I think you're A-okay with that at a 13 mana commitment. So, and it looks like Deriva's just going to go in. Yeah, that's a surrender. Yeah,
that is an extremely reasonable surrender out of Yangzera.
And Deriva, therefore, going to tie it up 1-1 for the series going into Game 3 here. And does this mean, what were the other? Is this going to be mid-range Frostbite now, or we don't know what was banned yet?
We don't know what was banned yet. We know that Yang's Targon Plaza was banned. But no, there's no mid-range Frostbite. It's either Draven Ezreal or Feel the Rush for Deriva.
I think there was mid-range Frostbite in somebody's lineup.
That was Ian
Agera.
Right,
that's right. Okay. All right. Well, here we go. All right. Start things off with the mulligan. We got a Sentry, Draven, Chumpwalk, Mystic Shot. I mean, a lot of the time, there's 2 different ways to really play this deck. You try to be pretty aggressive early on if you got things like House Spider, like the Sentry, Draven, especially. I think Draven's almost always a must keep in the mulligan. Just does so much to really even out your hands too if you do draw into something like Rummage or any of the discard type spells.
I think yours froze.
Yeah, it did. I was gonna say he's taking a long time to mulligan there.
So we get a Zoe on turn 1 out of Yangzera, but because Yang didn't open with the attack token, it is met with a Mystic Shot immediately. I gotta say, though, this is a matchup that is usually pretty favored for the Invoke deck. That Atrocity is something that really helps a lot in this matchup. We talk a lot about how Draven Ezreal has no way to deal with large attacking units at fast speed, or large undamaged units at fast speed, and that means that you can pretty much always guarantee a big hit into a big Atrocity and just one-shot your opponent.
All right, well, Draven already doing some work, too. Getting some damage in, generating those axes. We even have... All right, Serpent, Moonglow, and Messenger coming down for Yang. Looks like we are going to go with the Moonglow. Okay, so I actually kind of curious as the Moonglow. So does this mean we're trying to keep around the Mountain Scryer possibly? Just to play everything for a little bit cheaper. You know, I don't hate that if that's the route that Yangzera is going to go. Because there is plenty of removal on the side of Deriva. And if you are able to get that one Moonglow down, it's pretty safe to say that the Scryer is going to stick around for a while.
I don't see anything else in hand that we would be saving this for. It's possible our other options just weren't that appealing, but no, I mean, I don't know. Protecting the Scryer is a little risky. Eventually, I think you are going to have to block with it. Its 2 attack means it doesn't even trade onto anything effectively with that additional health that you've given it.
Well, we see as of now, okay, and that Scorched Earth off the top, like there's no way for Deriva to actually deal with the Scryer right now. So,
yeah.
I mean, hey, we'll see. You know, I think we've seen a lot of players in these matchups prioritize removing the Scryers, and I think that's for a reason. And, you know, you already gain a lot of tempo with a lot of these Celestial cards when they come down, something like Golden Sisters, right? And playing them for even cheaper, especially this early in the game, feels really, really good. Like, if we're able to at least get the Traveler down here for 3 mana, it's going to feel amazing, I think, especially because it does offer up a blocker for the Draven, or at least force, you know, something like the Spinning Axe to come down. And a second Scryer as well. Gonna come off the top, and a Cosmic Inspiration, and that is exactly what we chose, and we can play that for 5 sweet, sweet mana. God, that feels good.
Yeah, and there's still no way in the hand of Deriva to actually deal with this Scryer as long as Yang doesn't throw it into combat. But he does, and that, I mean, because we're blocking the Draven and the axes there, like, Deriva could set up a kill onto this Scryer next turn if we use something like the Whirling Death here, or actually, yeah, Whirling Death, pop that Spell Shield, next turn Scorched Earth it. That seems like a lot committed to deal with a Scryer. And I think that, yeah, as you had mentioned earlier, this Spell Shield is just going to dissuade any removal attempts on the side of Deriva, who is now just going to hang on to these pieces of interaction for larger units.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. If we got all that removal out, I think Yang is going to say, okay, sure, use all your tools on my Scryer. And, you know, as long, like you said, it's going to take until the next turn for Deriva to even deal with it. So this Cosmic Inspiration, as long as we're able to get this off for 5 mana, that is insane. That is...
And I would imagine that we're not even going to follow up with the Traveler. It's probably got to be the Diana.
I mean, hell yeah. Are you kidding me? A +2/+2 die, that's going to pick off basically anything on the field. I mean, that's going to feel good. You don't have to worry about generating any more Celestials right now. Throw down a Diana. Start gaining some of that tempo back.
Luckily for Yang, there is no Flock in Deriva's hand, so the Diana attack probably not going to work out through that Arachnoid Sentry, but at the very least, you are going to keep the unit around. Because if there was a Flock in Deriva's hand, Yang might just die next turn.
Yeah, just to a really wide field, especially with this House Spider, which it looks like Deriva kind of recognizing, okay, maybe I just have to try to go for it here, otherwise I die long term. And...
Ooh, Charger and Trickster.
Charger, very, very good.
Yep, 0 mana Charger, thanks to these Scryers. Still so much that Yang can throw down this turn. And, I mean, how long is Deriva actually going to hang on to this Arachnoid Sentry mana?
Oh, man. Yeah, and I don't think, you know, that kind of, that interaction you were talking about where Deriva could potentially go for the win, too, I don't think that's on the table anymore with how many units Yang was able to grab. You know, this Charger, going to do a lot of work. You know, we're going to basically be able to go as wide as Deriva, at least for the time being. Deriva does still have the capability of playing something like a Chump Wump if we want. I don't really know if that's the play here. Yep, Sentry, like you mentioned, is going to go ahead and pop that Spell Shield. And this does open up Scorched Earth, and I think now Deriva, I don't know if this is a little bit too late, man. I mean, now we're saying, okay, now we need to get rid of the Mountain Scryer. Like, we have gotten so much advantage. And even if we do get rid of the Mountain Scryer, guess what? There's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now that's the green light for Diana as well. So Yang's going to feel real good about seeing that Sentry come down like that and going to be able to pick off the Draven.
This is actually really bad for Yang. We can axe up the Draven and Whirling Death to save it. If we really want to. We could also just let it die and replay the Draven next turn. There's always that thing we talk about of, you know, the spell mana versus the actual mana, but because you're using spell mana to effectively play a Draven here, since the damage on this one doesn't really matter, I do like going for this play.
Yeah, you're keeping that aggression on the board. It does give you the option.
Oh, and we're going to level it.
I like this. I was going to say, it does give you the option to go for an open attack, and honestly, you know, with how Deriva started playing over the last turn or two, I think, like I said, he did recognize he needs to go super aggressive, and this is a perfect example of that. We want this overwhelm. We want this extra damage with the Draven. Unfortunately for Deriva, Yang's got a hush. So that might not work out, but we'll see how things play out here. Mystic Shot is more burn damage to the face as well.
Sky's Descend if Yang can hang on to the turn. Not going to be able to hang on to the Scryers, though. Could even lose both of them if Deriva so chooses here. But without a Captain Farron or an Ezreal, we're really not close to ending the game on the side of Deriva. We're still only 3 out of 6 on that Ezreal. 5 damage going to give us through here, but 8 is still a very nice life total. And this isn't mid-range Frostbite. This isn't Draven Swain. We have healing. This is Targon.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Star Shaping, kind of sitting there, chilling in hand. One of those cards that, it feels good to hang on to it until later in the game. And you know what? There's something that I feel like we don't talk about enough, right? There's plenty of times, for maybe some players that are a little less experienced, there's plenty of times where there could have been a Star Shaping played by Yangzera earlier in the game. There's a specific reason why not, even though he would have gotten the full heal out of it, and it's because there's no need to spend that 5 mana on a spell like Star Shaping and lose that tempo on just healing face and getting a card generated, when you can do other things, when you can generate units to the board. And what that also does too is it lulls Deriva into this sense of, he's at 13, I'm going to try to just push for lethal. And that's exactly kind of the game plan shift that we've seen Deriva take here, trying to level this Draven, thinking, okay, maybe Yang just doesn't have the healing. He's going for this Cosmic Inspiration strategy. We'll try to push for game. But it's all going to be for naught because Yangzera, with this Star Shaping, is in a very, very comfortable spot, even if Farron's drawn, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that Star Shaping is going to get us our win condition alongside that Atrocity, but we do still have to play more Celestials before that happens. And now Golden Sister picked up. This is a card that is surprisingly difficult for Draven Ezreal to deal with, the Golden Sister. It really helps get you back into the game and maintain your presence in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on the limit and say it's even more difficult as a 6-5. So,
I mean, 5-4 with Challengers, 6-5, 4-3. There are all kinds of Golden Sisters out there, and all of them very effective.
Yeah, and we can see in the hand of Deriva too. Like, if there was no Star Shaping, maybe we can close this out even with the Golden Sister on field. But add the Golden Sister on top of that, and it's just too much.
We're also now down to a 7 mana Sky's Descent.
I actually, that might be the lowest that I've seen, to be honest with you.
I've seen 3, but it was like when the player, like they had a level of Aurelion Soul, they were just playing out all the Celestials in their hand off of Living Legends. So it's like, oh, my board's full of Celestials. Here's my A Soul 3 mana spell. Like, it didn't really count.
Well, this does take care of the Golden Sister as well as the Charger. So Deriva doing a good job here, just maintaining a decent amount of health. We're only going to go down to 14. Have a lot of spinning axes in hand as well, but Yangzera still has that Hush to fall back on, as well as the Star Shaping. I mean, I guess there's a consideration that although Yangzera seems to be in a good spot, Yangzera really doesn't have a way to close out the game as it currently stands.
That's what Star Shaping is.
Yeah, until we play Star Shaping and pull a Great Beyond.
Well, I mean, we're currently, even now, we're only 3 off of lethal with the double Atrocity.
Okay, yep.
So on Yang's next attack turn, we could actually, and a 3/3 elusive is nothing to sneeze at, picked up off the top for Yangzera.
3/3 elusive that generates a card every turn. no less. So, yeah, that will definitely help quite a bit. If I'm trying to think if this is the turn where maybe Yangzera is forced to. Do we ever have to hush this Draven? I guess it's really not too dangerous at this point. He would only hush it if Deriva decided to proactively go in with something like an axe on these 5 health units. Then that feels like a decent trade, but I don't even know if we bother doing that. We'll see how Yang deals with this.
All right. You Sky's Descent here, right? Your opponent's down to 2 cards. I think this is a great time to just go for it.
Wow.
And you know that even if your opponent has a Tri-Beam, it's not very big. Because it came down after the Draven was leveled, which is a lot of 3-cost cards already gone.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm really surprised, that we didn't go for Sky's Descent, because we could have still played the Zoe after the fact. I mean, are you that desperate to bait out another summon for, like, there's 2 cards, like you said, in hand. Do we really need to get out one more card from Deriva's hand? I don't think so.
When your opponent just has cards in hand, hand tracking isn't something that I do often, but when you think about when the Draven leveled and see that those axes generated by him are to the right and the Chump Wump, even those mushrooms to the right, like, it's very easy to telegraph the hand of a Draven Ezreal player and know sort of when that Tri-Beam was drawn, if it's a significant threat. You might not be keeping track of exactly how many 3-drops have come down since those mushrooms were played, but you should know it's no more than 1 or 2. It's not going to be a big swing off of that. There's no high roll potential that's going to come out and end the game on you. And even though we go for the Hush here, all that's going to do is actually just empty Deriva out of axes.
Yeah, so we do end up getting the Draven on the Hush on the Draven, like I mentioned earlier. So
I think Yang's going for something super cheeky here, where if Deriva axes with the axe, we might actually just star shaping this Traveler.
I mean,
but if they axe with a mushroom, we might do it anyway, just to get another axe mushroom out of their hand to deny good rummages.
Okay, no,
but we're not going to go that far.
I was gonna say, I do think if you use a star shaping on a unit, that means you're at 10 health. Like, you have no way of getting higher than that, and I think that's a little risky at that point if there is something like a Farron that's top decked. And there's the Great Beyond. Wow, it's almost like we knew what was going to happen, Boulevard.
Yeah, I don't think you're worried about a Farron top deck at any point, because the next instance Deriva could get it down would be the same turn that you play your Great Beyond, and then you have double Atrocity. And I'm pretty sure this Great Beyond's at 14 attack. Even though we haven't played that many Celestials, we do have the Cosmic Inspiration, of course, that's going. So
15. Yeah,
we're actually looking at a 15 attack Great Beyond right now.
Yeah, and the Tri-Beam will deal with this elusive, but not going to be quite enough to do. That's a hand, huh? Double Atrocity, Sky's Descent, and the Great Beyond. Wow. Just jamming it down, and I wouldn't be surprised if Deriva goes ahead and concedes there. This Ezreal, it feels good to always draw Ezreal late game when you do have some burst spells in hand as well, but not quite as good as it used to once feel.
It's an elusive blocker, but that doesn't matter in the face of Atrocity.
Well, I mean, we technically still can't play Atrocity this turn, so I guess there's that. I guess.
Yeah, but so now the unit is damaged. Deriva has the option to top deck, like, way to pop Spell Shield, Scorched Earth to kill this. The problem is that we have double Atrocity. So going back to yesterday, this Atrocity is going to end the game. And oh, look, Deriva actually found a way to
I was just going to say, here we go. We got some lifesteal in the deck. See, and here we were saying that there was no ways for this deck to heal, and look what happens. We get a Wild Herald of the Spring on the field.
Yep.
I don't even know why I know the name of that card. I feel like I should not know the name of that card at all.
There have been a couple things that pop out of Tri-Beam, and I'm like, I know that. Why do I know the name of that one?
Like, why does this card matter?
Looking at you, Auroch Flinthorn.
Oh, man. All right, well, yeah, we do have some lifesteal, but that's about where it ends. You could possibly push with the Sentry and stun, but I think at this point, Deriva might want to try to just maybe bait Yangzera into playing something before attacking, and then we can stun the Great Beyond. But again, like you mentioned, at some point, okay, well, we're just going to get it this turn. Never mind. We have it this turn. Why not?
Yeah, there's no reason to wait. Our opponent only has 1 card, and we have double Atrocity. There's nothing that Deriva could have in the entire game to stop this lethal.
Yeah, and Yang gonna take game number 3 there for the second round today. All right, and it looks like Yang gonna take it for WNX, so definitely doing a good job keeping WNX in the fight to, you know, again, avoid those relegation games. Huge shout out to Boulevard for casting by my side as per usual. And yeah, the finals and the playoffs and stuff are going to be coming very, very soon for the LBR. So definitely keep an eye out. This weekend, though, going to be doing some Duels of Runeterra action, which has been quite some time since we've had that. So link will be in the description below if you guys want to sign up for that tournament. And as always, everybody stay healthy, stay positive. I hope shit just works for you, and peace out.